Perfect.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah.
It looks like there is a glare in my.
A little one, yeah. It's not too bad.
Okay, let me see. Okay, how now or here? That's better, right?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So are you in a studio? Like this is your training center, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
let me go ahead and we have. Well, I'm waiting, right? I'm waiting for you right here. Look, we want to high jump. Look at this.
Oh wow. Oh my God, that's amazing.
We want to have, we want
Wow.
to. It's yeah. We want to go ahead and so yeah. We basically. I am. This is in Minnesota. Um, I have another location in the state of Texas,
Yeah.
but this week I am here in Minnesota, having actually a high jump camp. I know a camp, high jump, long jump, triple jump. It's
All right. Fantastic.
so
Great.
yeah.
So Hugo, you're gonna hate me for this, or you might hate me for this, but I invited a couple of people. There's not many. It was last minute. Because yeah, do you mind?
The more the merrier.
Excellent. Okay. So the context is before they arrive, um, a friend and I decided we want to help out some Irish athletes who were struggling because everybody is struggling right now with COVID and all that craziness. So we said, look, well, let's just talk about high jump. That's all we just helped some. It started locally with like this small province of Ireland, and then the whole country wanted to get involved. I mean, everyone in athletics wanted to hear about it. So there's about 10 people who join us, maybe more, but we put an invitation out. You don't mind, do you?
Please, man. I mean, it's a.
Admit it all.
I think that you know me from back in the day. I'm always very welcoming, and you know what? Again, the more the merrier, man. Now it's a party, right?
Now it's a party.
That's a party. That's right, man.
So apologies. Well, look, it's exciting when there's an element of surprise. Hi, Mossy. How are you? Hi, Ben, Michael, Bernard, David. Welcome, Patrick and Sandra. Cool.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. So Hugo, these guys are in Ireland, but just imagine that it's you and I, because they will speak. I hope they'll speak, but I don't want you to feel in any way intimidated. Not that you would be, or kind of, surprised, I guess. So you're probably going to be surprised, but everyone here only found out about this probably an hour ago or 2 hours ago or something, because I was going to just chat with you. And then Olivia pressured me into opening it up to everyone. I said, fine, no problem. I've no secrets here. It was going to be recorded and shared anyway. But any objections to that, just tell me and I can just ignore it.
I don't know. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Okay. So, and then Olivia's there now. I'm just going to accept Olivia because Olivia is a good friend of mine in Limerick. And I'll just give you the context again, Hugo, and I'll shut up in 90 seconds, which is just enough time to clear a big height. So Olivia and I know each other from when we were kids, and we share a passion for high jump, as you do. And we said, look, let's open a conversation to this region of Ireland, and then there's a few more people outside of Munster who are interested, and we've had a few people talk about what it means to be a competitive high jumper and an elite high jumper, and what kind of preparation goes into it, and what you need to think about if you're training somebody or if you're preparing yourself to be an elite high jumper. That's it. So yeah, so it's the life of an elite high jumper. Olivia is interested in encouraging, anybody who's passionate about the event, and I'm totally behind that. My interest originally was elite high jumping, meaning junior or senior, but ideally the transition between junior and senior to try and achieve championship standard. So that's basically what we're looking at, or at least that's what I'm looking at. But if Olivia's free to jump in at any point, anyone's free to jump in at any point and throw any questions in. So so I can shut up. I'm going to ask you, Hugo. Can you tell me? The first question I have is you. The last time I saw you was in Stuttgart in 1993. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the conversation, but I said you don't do weights seriously. You're not. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah. I remember that. I
Oh,
remember
that's
that.
amazing. That's 27 years ago. And I remember that like yesterday. I said, you mean to tell me you're jumping 229, 230? I think you jumped 227 or 8 at that point, and you're not lifting heavy weights. He said, no. I even remember you told me you were only lifting about body weight. And I found it hard to believe back then. So I still do now, 27 years later.
First, Anthony, thank you very much for inviting me. I first and foremost, I'm just excited to see you. I lost contact with you for so many years, and I'm very happy to see that you are doing well. I think that we both are have a little bit more gray hair than before, but we are. It seems like basically that it's. I'm happy to see that that you are doing well, and that's awesome. I'm just very excited to basically to find you again.
We'll have another call, and we'll have another call and talk about life in general, which maybe these guys wouldn't be interested in. But we'll
Cool.
chat again. I'm really sorry. We probably should have done that first, but anyway, because this is the first time we've spoken, guys, in 27 years. It's great.
Absolutely. And I want to welcome all of you guys, and thank you for being here too. Well, you're talking about it's hi. You know what? Could you please remind me the question again? I was just excited
Okay.
to say hello to everyone in basically.
Okay,
Yeah. I
well,
lost track.
here's the question. Hugo Munoz, tell us, you come from a small country, Peru, similar to Ireland in terms of, oh God, how can I be politically correct? Look, it's a small country. Athletics may not be the number one sport. There's similarities. So how did you succeed as a high jumper coming from a small country like that?
Well, that's a great question. First and foremost, you're looking at different times. Okay, Peru, the Peru that I grew up is not at all the Peru that is today. The Peru that I grew up, it was a Peru that was we were pretty much having huge terrorism problems, huge economical problems. I mean, it was just a totally different world. Okay, the Peru that is today is Peru is honestly has advanced tremendously. I think that is one of the top countries economically in South America. Great growth. Is among one of the top gastronomical destinations in the world. I mean, we have unbelievable food. I think that it's now you have a 5-star Michelin a restaurant in Peru called Central, which is one of the top-rated restaurants. The gastronomical industry exploded. So it's a very prosperous country right now. So at the time that I started, just also beside talking about the economic and political situation in the time and frame, I was a kid that somehow found himself with a tremendous amount of talent without being very tall, basically just there, honestly. The previous national record in Peru was 217, okay, and it was done Western roll.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere around the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. It was probably around 1976 when I was born. Now I am 48 years old. So we had pretty decent high jumpers. Don't ask why, okay? We had decent high jumpers. Basically, I would say we have pretty decent high jumpers in the Western roll back in the day. We had a guy that jumped 217. We had a guy that jumped 212, 213, and 210. So for a Western roll era, that was pretty good. Late 60s, early 70s, my coach was actually the one that ended up coaching a couple of these guys back in the day. But as we all know, that we all that love high jump, the style changed in Mexico City with Dick Fosbury, you know. So Peru pretty much just these are times where there was not YouTube, there was not Instagram. So the World Wide Web and the communication that basically in information sharing that is right now that we can have that help us as coaches, there was not, or athletes, it just that there was nothing like that before. So knowing that, basically you were just there with anyone that can tell you anything about getting over that stick, and you believe them because that's it, you know, that's all you have. So Peru went into a huge time frame where we had, I mean, that record stood there for almost 25 years. And there was no one that was able to jump over 217 with already jumping Fosbury. We had a bunch of guys that jumped to 10 and something like that until I came and basically I think that I like to I like to think, I always like to be positive, okay? I mean, experiences for me are they're good, not so good, you know, but from all of them we learn. And most important, you push forward. That's me, okay? So everybody, basically, all the coaches that were there at that stadium, I think that we're not only coaches for me, but we're basically like second fathers. That stadium, I always say that stadium in Peru finished raising me, okay? And I was blessed to have a bunch of positive influences in my life. So with that being said, I think that I was part of a process of high jumping in Peru, where as they found themselves with somebody that had some talent, okay, they were also learning. Like, for example, I remember when I arrived to the coach that helped me achieve my best, I remember basically I was a junior, and at that moment I ended up jumping 218, which was the national. I broke the adult national record.
Okay? Oh wow! Now, do you mind if I interrupt you just for a second?
Yeah.
And this is me being a bully. Olivia, you can confirm that I'm a bully. This is Olivia's. She's over here. She's my partner in crime. Now, she was a very accomplished high jumper herself. So I'm pressing pause on your junior 218. Okay, so I've got that thought in my head because I know that people who are passionate like yourself, you could talk forever.
I do.
And you're like me. We probably became friends, I guess, because we just got. So I'm going to put you under pressure. Are you ready? Here's the pressure, right? This is like a pressure, third attempt with 30 seconds left in the clock, okay? In a big championship. 18 years of age, you jumped 218 at 18, 19 years of age, right? I'm going to ask you very, very seriously, because a lot of these guys are going to disappear if we don't get an answer. Can you tell us 2 or 3 things you did that for the previous generation they were not doing in Peru? Now, I know you should be paid for answering these questions, but it's a serious question. You know, you did something different. Sotomayor was on this a few weeks back, and he said, oh, I was tall, I worked hard, and I was talented. And I couldn't help but think, bullshit. There was somebody who did stuff differently with you that you're not going to tell us, or we won't understand because you're speaking Spanish, right? Now, Soto was great, but what happened with you?
I just wanted it so bad.
That's a good answer.
I really did. Okay, I was a kid hungry to. You know what? I found again. We go back to life lessons. Okay, high jump taught me so much that I was obsessively curious.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I was obsessively curious, and sometimes my curiosity and my thirst for just being great in honestly is honestly what every kid wants. I mean, I can guarantee you, we all wanted to be great. We just didn't know how when we were kids. I mean, we probably try everything, and uh, as we kept going, we found that probably, okay, you know what? I say we got somehow the attention and the recognition, and somehow you found yourself like, oh my God, I am exceptional at something. Finally, mom, I was in a mess up. It's like, it was so that's probably one of the things, because remember, I was a part of a process where honestly Peru, they were, as I was learning, they were learning too. So which it was what I was going to say before, we were chatting right here, is when I got to this particular coach, that he was the one that coached these guys that jumped, say, 217 back in the day, in the Western roll. I remember, because I had a lot of coaches before, and they were all talking about the same thing. So no one gave me, it's not bad advice. It's basically, they try to help you out. So when I arrived with this particular coach, uh, which he's really smart, and I said, basically, coach, I'm just so happy that I finally found someone. I found you, then you really know what you're doing. And I remember he was always a very calm personality, very calm guy. And we were walking around the track, and he looked at me, kind of smiled, and said, Hugo, I just want to also let you know that with you, we are all learning. No one knows it all. And I was like, at that moment, I kind of almost stopped and said, wait a minute, man. So, are you telling me that you have no idea what's going on?
So I've written down in the chat, I've tried to summarize what you said in the name of being concise. You wanted it really badly, right? Which is a genuinely a fantastic answer. Soto didn't say that. Stefan Holm, you felt he really wanted an Olympic title, and he did it. You were obsessively curious, which is, the 7 habits of highly successful people. Curiosity is pretty sure it's one of them, or this appetite for learning. And your coaches had that as well. And it's a theme that's come up again and again. Learn, be a student of your sport. And I'm super impressed by what I've heard from Olivia. I know I'm massaging your ego here, Olivia, but she's been on about half a dozen conference calls and coaching seminars since the last time we spoke, and I'm sure you do as well, Hugo. You got your finger on the pulse of the kind of international taught leadership on the subject. The information flow, the information highway of elite high jumping. It's out there. You just got to jump on it. But back then, when you were 18, 19, you and your coaches, I'm trying to summarize, basically thought, you know what, we have an opportunity now. We've got a talented athlete, and we're both committed to learning. So there was that spark that you kind of created a fire with, I'm guessing.
Yes. No, you are 100% right. Because I tell you this, the closest, when I was growing up, the closest image of high level was a Betamax tape. I'm talking, remember, I'm not saying VCR, Betamax, which is before VCR, okay? And I remember somebody brought it from, it was the biomechanical study that they did in the World Championships from Rome, like in the 80s.
Oh,
okay?
Wow. Yes.
Okay. And I remember that VCR, that tape was watched by many people. And then somehow you know that basically they do share and share. So I watch it and I was like, oh my God, you know, so it was like, God, I want to be like these guys someday, you know. That was, so that automatically that was the closest image. Now you go and you type YouTube and you basically can see everybody. You want to see people that you want to see jumping technically, and you want to see people that you're like, wow, that was rough, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, so now you can see it all. Back in the day, the closest thing I had was one VCR tape that was one in the whole country. And of course, there was an athlete like me, like basically that borrowed that tape. His machine ate the tape, and that guy never again showed up at the stadium, because I mean, we were all gonna kill him, you know. Basically, man, you kill our dreams. It's horrible.
Yeah. But I tell you, what I'm hearing from that is the passion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we got a comment here. This is similar to the position Ireland is in. I think a lot of countries have been set back because of COVID, and all these obstacles have appeared now. So out of that environment, you had, and I love that your coaches were kind of saying to you we're at the same level. I love that, because a lot of coaches that present themselves at a higher level, and you know, they are very often, but I like the humility. Yeah, you understand the humility of a coach to say, look, let's go on this journey together. Let's learn together. I think that's a great attitude.
I 100% agree with you. I have found that first, it is proven that you don't have to be a high-level athlete. I'm sorry, a high-level coach to be a high-level. A high-level athlete to be a high-level coach. You know, that sometimes what I think I do believe that doing the event before gives you maybe it gives you one aspect that is very important and very tough to replicate, which is the experience and the memories of the sensory of the sensations of how it felt when you did this and that. Yes, but as far as the content and how to be a good teacher of the sport, of the event, I mean, that can be translated to just about anything. And at the same time, if you find somebody that is extremely knowledgeable, a very good teacher of the event, that can basically also motivate and make the athlete believe and see things that they don't even see and believe in themselves, I think that you have something special there, you know? So that's cool.
Hugo, would you mind showing the people who are here today what's behind you? Because you showed me earlier. Turn the camera a little bit.
Okay.
See this, guys. This is great. This is his office, by the way.
It's a high jump area that I have right here. I don't live here. I live in Minnesota, but I own this place. I'm sorry. I live in Texas. But I am in Minnesota hosting a camp, and I own this place. I am involved in a number of things. Real estate is one of them. Okay, but basically, this is a high jump area right there. So
beautiful. And can you do plyometrics in there as well, or?
Yeah. Basically, you can do just about anything here. I will say, this is the only virtual high jump facility in the world. What that means is that I have everything connected with is all wireless. I have the internet connected here. As you can see, for example, right here, I have 4 cameras all around.
Wow.
Look at this. I have 4 cameras. There's one of them. There's another one over there. In the 4 angles, okay? In the 4 angles, I have cameras. And then I have 2 cameras outside, one for the parking area and one on the other side. If for example, there are athletes this is Minnesota, so it's the northern part of the United States, and it's extremely cold in the winter. So the athletes sometimes have a really hard time finding a place to high jump. So kids, you know, so basically sometimes they give me a call and say, hey, coach, do you mind if they come to my camps and all that, and I know them because, you know, so it has a restroom and everything. So they tell me, coach, and if I really know them, I mean, I know that this is a good kid, and I'm monitoring everything, you know, and basically only is the athlete and it has to come with one parent, okay, one mom or dad, then they can go, they can use it, and basically I open the facility and turn the heater on and everything with my phone.
Oh my God! Wow, that's cool.
So
That's cool, fantastic. I'm really happy you showed us that because,
yeah.
well, Olivia, what do you think of that?
Can you come to Ireland and open up one in Ireland, please? We could really do it. We get a lot of rain here. We need a. I'm actually really interested to find out about your kangaroo track club as well, and how that came about and how that's going. I love hearing the story about your progression, especially from Peru to the world stage. It's fabulous. A good friend of mine was on from Peru. She did the translation with Javier Sotomayor. We went to school together. She's from Peru originally, so I do have.
Oh, wow.
It's a country I want to visit someday, and I do wonder, do the mystical Andes and all that magic there that comes from the Andes and the Incas and everything, that must have an effect too, on the superb performance, your
There's
own
magic
performance
there.
as well. There is magic there, yeah.
We have a few indoor facilities in Ireland, Hugo, but a dedicated high jump facility like that is very unique, and it's testament to your commitment to the sport. Well done. I'm hugely impressed. So that's fantastic. You're ambassador for the sport, really, aren't you?
I appreciate the kind words. It's I think that we love the sport, and basically we just try to. It's cool to see a kid succeed and go from there. And I think that it's much more enjoyable to see passion, and I think that I think that I was talking to a good friend of mine, Jenny Hartman. She's the coach at the Olympic Training Center in Stuttgart, in Germany.
All right.
And when we were chatting, it was interesting because I said basically her and I, sometimes she calls me and basically we cross information because we're friends, and it's like the reason why we do this is like because back in the day we wanted to jump, okay, and we wanted to push forward, and we had dreams, and now time has passed, and we pass along our experience to the future generations, but it just basically we just coach somebody hoping that the magic happens for them. I mean, that's it.
That's a wonderful thing to do. And I think most people here, I think everybody here would probably share that interest. We see young people, and certainly is my perspective, I hear about and I see young people from teenage years through to early 20s in particular who might look at a championship and think, yeah, I think I want a piece of that action. And then just, they meet like-minded people and they meet passionate people, but sooner or later they encounter obstacles. And I think if you've been privileged enough to walk the path that you've walked, Hugo, you can say, look, there's a way around these obstacles. There's a path to succeed. And that's why we're having these calls, because I'm very aware that you can only experience so many obstacles before you say, that's it, I'm done. Or their parents say, you're done. Or their boyfriend or girlfriend says, you're done. So I think one of the goals here is to say, look, there's probably 5 to 7 years where you need to get it right if you want to succeed as a senior. My theory is that in those 5 to 7 years, you're going to be injured for half the time. So really, you've only got about 3 or 4 years where you need to smash it. When I say smash it, I mean do very, very well. And you can't afford to make mistakes. Again, people will debate this, and that's okay. But you can't mess around with an opportunity that's so transient. Like 2-3 years. It's you need to really get it right. So if you can share a message, fantastic. So look, a question about Kangaroo. Can you tell us about the Kangaroo Academy? What do they do?
This is interesting. as Olivia actually asked something similar, kind of like how did it start and all that stuff. Well, it's actually it started as a kid. The way it started is, here's the thing: is when I finished jumping, just like you said, I finished honestly just full of injuries, and it's not like I wanted to stop jumping. It's just like my body just gave up on me, and I had way too many injuries, and it become there is a point where you start weighing your options in life, and you are like, okay, you know what? I think that I need to move on. You know, I mean, I'd say basically, it was a nice ride at the moment that I was healthy. In my case, happened very early, but as time passes, you're like, you know what? I think that I have been injured for way too many years, and I'm not able to achieve the performances that I was achieving before when I was healthy. So I said, you know what? I think that it's time to move on. And you're right. Basically, you transition into something else. I honestly, I finished university here in the United States. I met my wife. I got married, and I ended up pushing forward as a normal everyday guy out there. Just, you know, you start working, you join the workforce. This is track and field. This is not the NBA or the NFL, or I didn't play soccer. You know, there are no multi-million-dollar contracts here unless basically you are one of the very, very, very few athletes that basically have been able to do something like that. I remember wherever I was, I received a phone call from somebody asking me, hi, you know what? Hey, you know, I heard you are in town. I heard you basically you are basically doing this. Do you still high jump? No, I don't high jump anymore. You know, hey, do you mind if you are, do you mind in any way if you can make an appearance, you know, for the kids at my university, at my high school? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I will. Do you mind if I maybe probably want to be on Monday, but I cannot do this every day because, you know, I have a family now. I have a daughter and I have a wife and I have a job. So I probably will show up once to help out, to make an appearance. And then after that, you know, yeah, sure. And somehow, wherever I went, despite that, I actually wanted to get away from the sport. Mm-hmm. I found myself, wherever they called me and asked me for an appearance, I found myself a week later at the track coaching kids every single day for free. You know? And wow. So I got sucked in again. It was like destiny, to be honest with you. I wanted to get away from the sport because I just basically, it was like, I finished very frustrated, you know, full of injuries. And then somehow I got sucked in and I was like, okay, you know what? So my wife basically one day she sat with me and told me, look, you know what? I think that I love that you like to help out. And that's one of the qualities I marry you. But you are going and helping all these kids after a day of work at the track. You're doing it for free. You get home like at 9, 10 p.m. I don't get to see you. Your daughter doesn't get to see you. I think that, or you need to go ahead and do something with it, okay? Or you know, we need you as a family, you know?
Yeah.
And she was right. For me, balance is huge in everything, you know, and much more in your personal life. So I started Kangaroo Track Club like that early on. It started with 2 kids. And the crazy thing is that when people tell me, hey, man, you know what, how do you start? And I'm like, they see usually what it is today. But I started here in Minnesota like 16, 17 years ago, I think, plus or minus, pushing high jump pits by myself across a frozen football field. You're looking sometimes minus 30 degrees centigrados across a frozen football field and going towards basically up the stadium, up the stairs, across a parking area, and putting the high jump pits inside a gym where a local high school coach let me use his gym and his equipment so I can coach 2 kids. And I did that for probably 2 years, where these 2 kids ended up experiencing success. These kids basically, they went from being basically an okay, fair high jumpers, basically not top kids in their school, to qualifying to the state championships. I saw the positive impact that the sport created in in their personality and their confidence, because it's the same thing. Sometimes basically you are a normal kid, and because they did well and they ended up going to the state championship, they created their confidence went up, and then they ended up experiencing um, this boost in their confidence and friendships, and the light started shining on them among their friends and their community. So they became leaders through the sport in their own communities. So Kangaroo Track Club started like that. I mean, it was all based on performance. I mean, the kids did well, and that brought more people, and they kept doing well, and they brought more people, and slowly it was never intended to be. I never started this basically, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this or I'm gonna have that. No, not at all.
So it was quite organic the way it grew. Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty
Can
cool.
I ask you? Can I ask a question there, Hugo? So, so then, did you go coaching then full time when you started the Kangaroo Track Club?
No.
And was it no?
No, I was coaching at night.
At night with the Kangaroo Track Club.
Right. The difference is that at that point I started charging, and honestly, what I was charging, it was something symbolic. I mean, it's not like it was today. You're looking at I mean, yes, I probably have some credentials that would definitely, bring people through the door, but at the end of the day, if people don't see results and they don't look, I mean, you sounds basically, I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, but as coaches and as athletes, when you see an athlete and you see them technically, you're like, okay, well, oh wow, that looks nice, and technically it shows. So those athletes, and in the way they look technically at the competition, open a lot of eyes, and that becomes, the athlete becomes a product. Mm-hmm. So I always see things like that too. O sea, the athlete, in the way they look, that athlete becomes a product. And you start promoting, basically in Anthony and myself, we became a product, and we were promoting basically our own country, and we show ourselves, but that's basically, you promote your country and what you do. In this particular case, a lot of athletes that come and train here, there is a way they look, and they are like, oh wow, you basically came from Kangaroo Track Club. It's basically it's just part of. I don't know if you guys, I have an Instagram account. You can go Kangaroo Track Club, and basically you're gonna see that little kangaroo right there. And I put a lot of videos of athletes that basically they come in here, and they do quite a bit. I think that we all that love high jump, you probably can pick up a pattern of mechanical aspects in a lot of them. Now I understand that some things people are going to be able to do them sooner or later. Some people are going to take a little bit more time than others, but is the consistency in the mechanics that basically are going to, you see movement there that has been taught.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. I was just going to say, to follow on from that, sorry, Anton, it's because here in Ireland, where high jump is sometimes forgotten, and all of us here, we're passionate about high jump, and we're trying to get some high jump hubs going. So like we've had a few calls, and it's come like jumpers jump better when they're jumping together as well. So it sounds like the Kangaroo Track Club, it is for high jump, and if I'm right, triple jump as well. So, and how many coaches do you have then in high jump, or how did it progress? Just you? Wow.
It has been always me.
Wow.
I don't hire assistants.
Okay. Can I ask you, look, it's a hot topic, professionalism, right? And obviously, the United States is a different country. People will say, "Oh, you can't compare Ireland with the US." However, Alex Stewart, if you have a chance, if you're interested, you can watch the previous videos. We had Alex Stewart on a few weeks ago, who's probably the top high jump coach in Australia. I'm in Sydney now. And Alex Stewart talked about professionalism and that transition. No, he didn't talk about the transition. He just talked about professionalism in athletics coaching. Now, in Ireland, what you'll hear is that the Irish have a very proud volunteering base, okay? And that's great. And, you know, generally speaking, coaching in athletics is amateur, right? Now, think what you like about amateurism versus professionalism. We could talk about that for hours, but my view is that if you want a big performances, you need to be professional. However, we understand that there's limitations. There's not a lot of money flying around, blah, blah, blah. My point is just to be concise again, or to be conscious of time. I see it as an absolute prerequisite to have money involved if you want full commitment from coaches, administrators, whoever. If you don't offer money, you're competing with the wives of the world, the husbands of the world, the families of the world who say, look, we need food on our table and we need attention, and you're out coaching till now. Last thing I'm going to say on that is there's some people who might be retired or single or young or whatever, who don't have a partner at home, who don't have kids, who don't like watching TV or whatever. And it's a hobby for them and they like coaching, right? But let's assume that they're the minority for now. And most people have a life where they could actually do other stuff, right? My view is that you don't want to take that chance with elite contenders who are going to represent your country. You pay the damn coaches. It's a very simple formula. You get out what you put in, and one of those things is an investment in facilities like that great facility behind you, but also in the coaches. Your time is precious, so you know you should be paid to, like Alex Stewart, you should be paid to spend all your time thinking about high jump or sprinting or whatever it is, and then contribute that expertise to the best of the best. Period. What's your view on that?
I agree with you if you're looking about high level, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Just high level I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah, the coaching a high level athlete, Anthony, it is a full-time job, man, okay? And unfortunately, the money is just not there. That is the brutal truth of the whole thing. I really wish it was, because you know what? That's where that's the highlight, you know, that's basically what we are looking for. But at the end of the day, you need money, man. I mean, it's not only, let's not talk about money for the athlete to basically to be able to have what bottom line is, what are you going to do when you are done? I mean, that takes a way that now we're talking about extra cash for savings. That's not even covering your expenses. So your expenses, your living expenses, and much more is your traveling expenses, which at the end of the day, you need money just to cover the preparation and the traveling expenses, because that's how you get prepared mentally. This is what I mean by that. Unfortunately, I think that I learned that as time passed. Now, for example, I like to keep moving myself, you know, physically, and now I do jiu-jitsu, okay, and I do it at the master category, you know, and I'm 48 years old, like you. So when I started preparing, so I'm going to make a parenthesis here. I want to go back to track and field. 7 years ago, I was competing a lot, okay, in jiu-jitsu, okay, and my coach, my instructor, was telling me, Hugo, you know what, you're very athletic, you know, you basically are fast, strong. Man, we need to go ahead and we want to try to make a competition, because my instructor competes a lot. So we want to go ahead and we want to try to make a run for nationals, U.S. nationals, and then world championships master, for categories. And I said, that's great, but you need competitions to prepare you. So in Peru, back in the day, when we are going back to high jump, I think that we have phenomenal coaches. Okay, so the coaching is there, the preparation, the physical preparation is there. But at the end of the day, nothing, absolutely nothing will prepare you for a high-level competition than high-level competitions. Okay, I'm not talking about small meets at home. That's basically what my country could afford, which honestly, there were, I threw many jumps, anywhere from 220 to 220 to 230, including my personal best, which is 230, in meets basically that were fabricated, basically, we call it controles, which use a small meets made by the Peruvian Track and Field Federation, official meets, where basically you had you jumped there, or you just didn't jump anywhere because they didn't have the money to take you to other meets. And
so
then
you jumped 230. You jumped 230 in a domestic competition like that.
In Lima, it was in Lima.
So isn't that a bit? I mean, again, I'm just being putting you under pressure. Isn't that a contradiction to what you said, that competition is so important, but then you jump 230 in a domestic, relatively small comp?
Yes, and I explain you why. Because when you are at home, you are basically, you are in the same place that you train every single day. It's like this. Imagine I invite you to my house.
Okay.
Are you going to be in your home?
Gotcha.
You want to be very comfortable. You relax. So nothing basically mentally, nothing is different.
Okay.
So
there's an advantage.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we'll park that one for a second. To go back to professionalism, quick question. Was it okay? Two questions, if you can be patient with me. Firstly, was it very difficult to turn to an athlete or to a group maybe who might have known you as an amateur coach, and then suddenly say, okay, guys, I'm going to start charging? What was that experience like? And secondly, what qualities do you think a coach needs to validate their position as a professional coach? Because you have to be accountable, obviously. It's all about accountability. So what qualities do you need? And how difficult was the transition?
Well, in the beginning was very difficult, because high jump, like I said before, it was something that made a huge difference in me. So sometimes I used to find myself in the track, and you were just training, and then you found a dad and his daughter or son that they just were watching you train, and they came and said, hey, do you mind if we kind of like just ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. And I never thought on charging for that, because you know what? It's a kid. I mean, that's the way I saw it. I was, hey, this is a kid. Come on over, buddy. And basically, and you just helped the kid, and you saw the huge difference that it made on the child. So you honestly felt good that was my good deed. I saw the kid improve. That was cool. And you get out of the track basically that was it. That's the feeling that created. Well, that was your payment. That's it. Now, as time passed, the first time that I had to say, okay, this is my fee, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to say, this is my fee. I felt bad, to be honest with you. Now I don't feel bad. Because the fact of the matter is we have to be able to keep the lights on. And by the way, high jump is not the only thing I do. Okay, so I have other businesses, and I have a job. I am also a school teacher, besides being involved in real estate and doing this. So I do a number of things. Okay. So I don't. So that was basically the first time. Honestly, it was hard. It was really hard. I think that you had another question right there,
which was, if someone is going to say, okay, I'm going to be a professional coach, because there's no it's not a protected title like being a doctor or something. What criteria should athletes look to validate the credentials of that coach, to say, okay, that person is, what criteria, if there was a performance assessment, at the end of 12 months, and you said, okay, you're a professional coach, I pay you $200 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever you pay them. What's the judgment? What's the criteria of performance? What qualities do you need? Like, imagine it's a job, like you read the job description, okay, you qualify, and then do performance review after 12 months. How does that work?
Well, okay, first, I think that, yes, credentials are important, okay? Yes, they are. Whether you can talk about many things. So this is a guy that basically, to me, if I have to see somebody, first and foremost, the person has to be, let's imagine I go back in time, okay? And I'm basically, okay, I'm gonna look for somebody. Who would I look for, okay? To me is, you have to be, you have to be there or done that, whether it's as a coach or as an athlete, okay? So one or the other one, it's kind of like, okay, imagine I have a boxing coach, okay, and I'm gonna have my first amateur fight. Well, if the guy that basically is telling me that how am I gonna go ahead and how am I gonna be doing things inside a ring when I'm gonna basically get my face punched, he has never been punched in the face, it's a little bit hard to basically, it's okay, so you're sending me to a ring basically telling me, hey, do this, do that, and so when you don't even know how does it feel basically to get pummeled, so there is going to be a little disconnect there. So now again, you don't have to be a great athlete, a great athlete to be a great coach. But I think that if I have to look for somebody, definitely or the coach have to have somebody. I can see that there is got to be a level of experience with athletes, basically, see the results as a coach, or somebody that has been there and done that, and basically give me some kind of an experience from the other end as an athlete, basically. Which sometimes I understand that they might not translate from one to the other one. It's ideal if the person has both, but it's not always the case. So to me, that's what I would look for. I would look for somebody that has been there and done that, whether as an athlete or as a coach, and been there. And most important is, am I going to have good chemistry with this particular coach? Because sometimes, not everyone, you're not going to click with everybody, and not everybody's going to click with you. We all have different personalities. So if we're going to spend that much time together working, I want to make sure that I enjoy my time as well, probably as the athlete is going to enjoy her time, and it's going to be a great working relationship. If not, life is too short, my friend.
Absolutely. Any questions from anyone else there? Bernard, Cormac, Mossy, Michael? There's 15 people there. Please jump in. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to think. Because Hugo, he's on the other side of the world. We're very privileged to connect the world. We've had Cuba, we've had Australia, Peru, US, Australia. We're getting global knowledge here. Anybody want to raise a hand? I think there's an icon for raising a hand.
There's a message there from Bernard. Maybe Bernard can ask it himself.
Yeah, Bernard, go for it.
Hi, Bernard.
Hugo, how are you? The question is, and like Antoine, I'm quite interested in your approach that you weren't big into lifting heavy weights. Can you give us a little insight as to your approach and your foundations then in the absence of the weights, as in the plyo, speed, and if you didn't lift weights, what strength elements or what strength approach did you take?
Great question.
That is an outstanding question. Thank you. Thank you, Bernard. Here's the deal. Weights are great, okay? And they are. As I kept progressing as a high jumper, I did ended up lifting weights, okay? But my training was, again, when I was healthy, it was very specific. Okay, so for example, I did, I would say, two exercises with weights. Now, with time has passed, and I think that now that we have a lot of information, we can always say, well, you know what, I could have done this better or that better, or maybe I would not have done that. So that's a whole different topic, because I think that we all improve as time passes. I am not the same coach than when I started, and we all keep evolving. So at the time that I was jumping, I did very few exercises. For the most part, honestly, I did, and I ended up doing actually with a lot of weight, but it was very specific, means exercises that mimic the movement that I needed. Like, for example, step up jumps, which is a very common high jump exercise. But I remember doing them with weight, all the way to 165 kilos. And I remember actually I used to. It was not only just standing. Right? I used to basically go and take one step, and it was pa-pam, and basically just jump and then land in almost in a high jump position with another box, basically to support my leg in front. So I basically just jump on top of a box and landed like that, always trying to mimic the technical aspect that I was going to execute. That was a prime exercise for me with weights. Then there was another one that was basically your typical jump and change, where there is a little box in here, and you go pum 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 like that. And I remember doing that with I would say probably 120 kilos.
Yeah.
So
can I say something there? Look, that's amazing, but it's obviously dangerous. Yeah. Now, I did something similar, yeah? And there's videos of sort of my order doing something similar. To me, this is the crux of the whole thing, right? And Cormac, I'm sure you got views on this as well. You go into a gym in Ireland or anywhere, and you put 160 kilos in your back, and you try that, and you'll get people looking at you going, maybe I should intervene. Maybe we should call security. You'll get people who worry on your behalf, right? I had a guy, intervene with my bench press the other day. I was going for a PB bench press, and I didn't ask for a spotter. He came over and spotted me. It was under 100 kilos, I can tell you. But that kind of weight for a step up, very dangerous lift. I agree with that kind of lifting, and Olivia knows my views on this. I'm a very big believer in developing explosive strength for high jump. It's a high impact event, which you talked about in your talk with Louis Castro. High impact event needs high impact, heavy elastic strength training, right? But you're going to have a lot of people who are going to go, oh, I'm not so sure about doing that in my local gym, or, well, the gyms have been closed for the last 12 months in Ireland, but there's a lot of people who just would be very, very nervous about doing that without a specialist strength and conditioning coach.
Yes, and you are 100% right. I mean, now I am coaching my daughter, and my daughter is competing for the Peruvian national team. So, and I coach her since she was 12. So I'm following with her the whole process from youth, and trying to take her we are trying. She's already competing for Peru. Her personal best is 174. I think that the forecast this year is probably anywhere from 178 to 181, 182, somewhere in there. Okay, hopefully the outdoor season is with COVID. We're always changing things, but if we can put a nice competition season together, I think that she could get there. And I am very, very, I mean, knocking on wood, but Daniela, my daughter, has never been hurt, not once. And I probably have been big into almost undertraining. The first thing I think is me, when I was in the way that you and I were training, I'm thinking first, is this necessary? you know, and do I see the progressive improvement? So there are a lot of questions in angles that I approach this, and there is a point at the same time, like we both have lived, that you need to start pushing numbers, you know, and that time eventually keeps coming where we are gonna keep increasing the loads until slowly, with number of jumps and in making sure that the key for me is to be able to train the nervous system. This is the speed, the contraction speed of the muscle, and make sure that it fires at a faster rate with resistance. So whatever that might be. And the thing is that back in the day, probably we used to measure that by the amount of plates that we put in the weight. You know, we got excited in the weight room, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what? And gave us a sensation that, man, I'm putting this much, and I'm improving, and you felt powerful. Right now, my belief is a different kind of measurement, because I have to measure the speed of the bar or the resistance, and that's with a certain amount of weight or resistance. The faster she gets with a certain amount of resistance, that's my indicator that we are improving, and we are improving that elastic strength that we need. Which back in the day, and as we already discussed, I mean, if Peru didn't have, we're talking about Betamax tape, yeah, we were not going to have the technology basically to be able to measure the speed of the resistance. So I go more by that now than doing a tremendously dangerous exercise, which sometimes we do. My daughter does step-ups, and we are doing them with weight. But I think that right now the most we have done is 130, 30 or 35 kilos. 30 or 35 kilos. That's basically the most she has done with a step-up, you know, which...
You're not as worried there with the 130 kilos.
Yeah, I know.
I'm guessing, I'm probably trying to read your mind here a little bit, Cormac. I'll come to you in a second. But I'm trying to read your mind a little bit, and I get the feeling that you're a bit uneasy about the risk of the high intensity parts, the risky kind of training element with your daughter, because you have that care of your daughter as a priority, but then you think, oh, well, you have to push the limits. You know, when you push limits, you know this, you're going to get injured or you're going to get hurt, right? Mentally, physically, your personal life, whatever, something has got to give. So I'm just wondering how you might manage that as a father when you think, oh, well, you know, Daniela, look, the truth is that if you really want to jump 2 meters, you got to do some crazy, intense, serious stuff. And I'm not sure, how do you feel about taking her on that path?
My friend, we have been warriors of the sport. And just like the samurai said, we live by the sword, we die by the sword. So that is some, despite that we try to be really safe, we have to, this sport is about pushing our limits, and in numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
right.
So you eventually, not eventually, but right now, for example, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because right now we are in that path. We are pushing numbers. And I see it in the tests. I mean, honestly, yesterday we did a little test of a triple jump, basically standing triple jump, you know, and standing triple jump with a right, standing triple with a leg, quintuples and all that stuff. And she has improved in pretty much all her jumps. And we just ended up raising the level of the loads. And so far, so good. But I understand that our bodies have to, at the same time, you have to, I mean, we are all coaches here. We all understand that there has to be a preparation period before we enter in a specific period, you know, for as far as preseason. So I have to be able to make sure that she's physically able to withstand the loads that I'm going to put on her in the specific preparation by having a good general base early on, you know, like at least a month.
Cormac, do you have a question?
Yeah, Anthony. Hugo, hello.
Hi, Cormac.
Pleased to speak to you. You have to excuse, I have some children in the background here. They're making some noise. Yeah, just it may continue just this dialogue around physical preparation. You know, over the last number of weeks and months, thanks to Olivia and Anton, we've had some great conversations. Every conversation we've been having with former jumpers and coaches, we've always come back to the amount of injuries, the amount of really injuries that that athletes are picking up. And I see it myself in you know, at you know, underage competition, even in Ireland here, the amount of injuries that jumpers are picking up, you know. And so I'm really, it kind of links to the preparation and the elastic strength and the actual ability of the athletes, and whether we're, you know, what's causing all of these injuries, right? For specifically high jumpers, but also, of course, for long jumpers, triple jumpers, same things. But there, you know, are there really things we need to be honing in on and being more careful about with our athletes to prevent injury?
Cormac, that's a great question. Okay, and by the way, to me, it's my experience in my situation might be different than each one of yours. Okay, so I can only tell you basically what I am trying to do from my end, and hopefully, you know, we can all pick some good things that might apply to your reality, and there might be other ones that might be like, okay, that doesn't apply to me. So hey, you know. What I do with Daniela is first, before she starts what I call a specific preparation, which basically is when we start really trying to gain power, you know, and prepare for specifically the competition season. Okay, so it's the what we call it, the specific preseason, but a specific preseason. I usually do 1 month, of general preparation that has a lot to do with, I put zero resistance. There is running, and there is honestly a bunch of body weight exercises in circuits that the athlete is balanced in coordination. So everything is body weight in balance and coordination. You have exercises in sand, you know, so you prepare the body to be able to train, you have to be fit, and your joints have to be healthy. So we prepare the joints and we prepare the body to start an actual preseason, a specific preseason. Under no circumstance I start resistance training without having a good general preparation. And that's in a normal scenario. With COVID, because I gave Daniela pretty much I gave Daniela a vacation, you know, like a couple of months just for her to just relax. We did 2 months of just general preparation, just on the safe side, with only body weight exercises and running and all that. Just we train some days in sand, you know, making sure that the athlete is well balanced and preparing the joints, you know, in the muscle for what is coming. Making sure that
Stefan Holm as well. We talked about that general prep, early preseason fitness topic. I think he did. Four to 6 weeks. I think he said it would be longer. I think he said it was more than 4 weeks for them in Sweden. But I mean, Stefan Holm was famous for having some of the strongest tendons in athletics. Like his Achilles tendon could bear such incredible loads. His patellar tendon And it was that progressive loading over many, many years, like the consistency of that, with really incremental increases in load. I mean, people look for magic formulas, but I think with Stefan Holm, the message was consistency, you know, and he was healthy for many years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'd agree with you on the general prep. Some people were asking, there was one question, you know, about specific exercises. Well, specific exercises, I think I'd be fair to say that specific exercises are all out there. I mean, you can Google plyometrics and there's a ton of plyometrics. Peaking is an interesting one, Hugo. Now, 2 Olympics, you competed in Atlanta and Sydney. You know, you probably agree that peaking didn't work for you on those occasions.
No, here's the, well, first and foremost, injuries play a huge part in my preparation later on, okay? Also, same thing when we were talking about competition. To me, there is a physical preparation, okay? Which that is done, you know, doing the preseason and your coach, you know, and knowledge and all that stuff. Awesome. But the other one, and it's huge, is the mental aspect. And the mental aspect of competing at a high level competition, it's only you're going to be able to translate also to go into a high level competitions. And in Peru, basically, you just show up to a major competition like that with zero competitions prior. I mean, that's the brutal truth. So it's like, I give you an example, okay? One time, going back to jiu-jitsu, my coach, at that moment, it was Jeff Messina. Now he's still my coach, but basically now that I train with Alex Seconi, which Alex was a heavyweight world champion in jiu-jitsu. And bottom line is, I remember basically he says, Hugo, we want to prepare for these high-level competitions, which is U.S. nationals and then world championships. But you need 3 to 4 competitions, but not any local competitions. You need IBJJF competitions where the lights are the same, the scenarios are the same, the refs have basically their own suit. So even everything is going to be a mimic, a replication of what you're going to experience at Worlds, and you're going to be fighting these guys. So you're going to feel so comfortable at the moment of competing. It's like the World Championships are going to be one more competition. So nothing will prepare. So the mental training happens by mimicking the moments of stress that you are going to experience at the moment of the highest competition. So the end result of that was me winning U.S. nationals and getting second at the World Championships. So going back to another one, basically, I remember one time we were training, we were just playing around with some stand-up, and I was boxing a little bit with one of the coaches there, one of the Muay Thai coaches, and basically he goes and say, and I asked him, hey, I got a question for you. You guys that basically are doing the stand-up, because jiu-jitsu is a grappling, it's like judo. He said, how do you guys get used to getting punched in the face? And he looked at me and says, getting punched in the face. I mean, there is no science on that. There is only one way for you to get used to it. Is you have to, you know, say, hey, let me tell you how you get used to. Yeah, I can tell you at the moment that somebody get popped, it's just like you're on a different planet. So there is only one way, he said, there is only one way to get used to getting punched in the face as a boxer, and it is getting punched in the face. You get used to it. The first time, it's going to throw you off. You're going to be like, oh my God, the second, the third, the fourth. You know what? There's a point where I'm like, hey, here comes another one, you know, basically you just keep going, you know, so that's part of.
Hugo, did you, just to be clear, did you recreate a championship performance in training? Is that what you said?
As far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, yes. Not only in training, but in a competition. And then now we go back to money. Competitions cost money. Okay, so for me to be able to go ahead and recreate mentally the championship competition, I need to go to 4 competitions of from the IBJJF Federation, where pretty much everything is the same and the level was the same. For that, I had to travel. We go back to money. So the mental preparation. The mental preparation happens in the competition. You have to be able to prepare the athlete. You can prepare the athlete all day in your you know, at the local track, and physically it could be great. The athlete could be looking great, but at the moment of the high level competition, it's, o sea, if the athlete has not had prior competitions and being able to be put under that level of stress with the lights and the new people and basically, so you basically are in foreign territory. And for that, you need money.
Can I ask a question there, Hugo?
Yes.
So we're going back to your high jump days then, when you said that there was lack of money in Peru to send you internationally, would you say that affected you then at when you competed in the Olympics, that it was too much, the pressure, do you think? Or had you prepared mentally for it?
No, yes. O sea, of course it affects you. And besides, basically, I sustained an injury in 1995. And there were a lot of things happening with me at that particular time. Okay. Like I said, I was having coaching problems, basically, where I didn't have a coach at the end of 1995. So as soon as I jumped to 30, there were other things happening with the federation hiring or not hiring my coach and things like that, that unfortunately that ended up being between them and me as an athlete. I happened to basically find myself in the middle of it and without a coach, you know, and I understand, you know, everybody has to be able to put food in the table. So then basically no coach, then and the federation ended up sending me at that time to the United States to train. But again, you send somebody and you just basically say, oh yeah, you're going to be fine over there. But the United States is a huge country. It's not like you're not going to have problems over there. And with it was not like I was sent to a high level training center where basically there was everything there and it was a previous agreement. It was done very folkloric, to be honest with you. And at the same time, me as an athlete, I jumped on an opportunity that basically I thought, okay, you know what? It's just basically I'm going somewhere. But you going somewhere and going to the United States or going to Europe or going to, it's not just like, I mean, I can go ahead and basically say I'm going to the United States and I'm going to Europe, and somehow I find myself without an indoor facility to train in January, you know, and as far as your federation is concerned, oh, he's over there, he's training, but they don't know anything else about it. And at the end of the day, people just are looking for performance. So I found myself pretty much alone out there trying to make it work. And honestly, at the same time, I was badly injured that I ended up having a surgery at the end of 96, basically, because I had to do it, where they told me that I will never jump again. And I found myself without a college degree yet, because I had 1 or 2 years prior in Peru, but I needed to finish the university. And I needed to finish college. So I ended up taking an opportunity. I had to get a surgery, and I ended up going to University of Idaho, took a chance of me, which I'm basically eternally grateful. I ended up having 2 NCAA appearances. Same thing, I didn't have a coach there, so basically I coached myself. The highest I was able to jump after the surgery was 225. And again, alone, you know, without any help, or I didn't have sponsors at that moment anymore. I had, you know, when I was in Peru, I did, but it just becomes really hard, you know. And we go back to always. To me, I always said there are 2 kinds of preparation for high level performance. Okay, one is the physical preparation, which I think that we can all cover that with your coach at home internally. That's awesome. That means we are all capable for example, in my case, it's like, you know, that having a jump of 230, that proves that you are capable of jumping high. Now, you always are going to have bigger performances where you feel sometimes very comfortable competing and being used to. In my case, if you see the Peruvian Track and Field Federation calendar, you see a lot of competitions, sometimes now even, a lot of competitions in South America. So the more competitions you have in South America, then you are preparing the athlete for a South American level competition. As soon as the athlete have a world-class mark, like for example, me at 230, you need to get that athlete out of there. You know, so you have to go ahead and put him in Europe, and he's going to probably get killed in the first couple of competitions until he gets used to mentally and feels comfortable, and he probably starts walking into a competitions like he used to walk back at home, and you're going to start seeing that the marks start basically going up there, and he gets closer to his higher level. But that comes from the mental aspect of competing. So you have to feel comfortable in being immersed at the level that you are going to compete at. And for that, again, we go back to money. Yeah, you need money.
Yeah. Hugo,
and support structures. It sounds like you jumped really well, 230, and then no support structure. I was on a call recently with Gail Devers and Jackie Joyner-Kersey, and he's a neighbour probably of yours, Charles Austin. And listening to Gail, it sounds she was so positive, so full of desire. I thought she would get there anyway. And I just threw in the question, what about support structures? And she said, no way, Jose, would she have made it without the support structure. Said you have to have a support structure, a strong support. So it's very unfortunate for you to lose your coach, to have all that domestic stuff going on, and then to be thrown into a foreign country with a foreign language, a foreign culture, and no support structure.
Actually, this is an interesting one. I tell you how did I qualify I want to tell you how did I qualify to qualify. Okay, so to qualify to Sydney. Okay, which basically at the end of the day, to making to qualify for Atlanta, I jumped the A minimum standard. To qualify for Sydney, I jumped the B minimum standard, which was 225. That doesn't mean that you want to do something great over there. That means that you qualify. Okay, so you earn the right to stay up on that track and try to give it your best. That's all it means. Okay, so I found myself in 1999, honestly, same thing, full of injuries, without a coach, with no money, and I needed to finish the university. I basically had at that point both ankles down. The one that I had the surgery on that they told me that I will never jump again. And then the other one that basically was the takeoff one, which was basically an overuse because I was compensating. So at that point, I basically just needed to get as strong as I could and hoping for the best. So, and I definitely after the first injury, which it was in 1995, I was tremendously inconsistent. I never knew the range of motion that my ankle was going to give me. The one that I had the surgery which was my penultimate step, and I lost a tremendous amount of speed on that. But I believed in my talent, and I said, you know what? In your mind, I'm like, you know what? I am super talented, and I think that I can make it. I just need one more chance, maybe one more. That's it. So let's see. I didn't have a coach. I was in a foreign country. I didn't have the ideal place to train. I remember University of Idaho had a really, really hard track, and my joints were not going to take the pounding of a really hard track. I had no money. And again, I was by myself in Moscow, Idaho, up north. So countries invest millions of dollars to put one athlete, just to put one athlete at Olympic Games. That doesn't mean that they're going to win. That just means that you qualify, which probably you are among the top 25 jumpers in the world, plus or minus. Okay. So, and there was just me and my talent. And going again, my desire to push forward. So I look at all those things, and you are like, how does my question is, how does my chances look? A lot of people will say, you're crazy. Well, I went the crazy route. and I said, okay, I know that I have the talent and I know I have jumped 230 before, so it's still me. Okay, now I understand my limitations, but if I want a chance and I want to go for it, I have to look at everything as the best of the worst. I cannot sit down and say, you know what? So what? I made it to one Olympic Games. I jumped to 30. I won the South American Championships. I'm still the I was a finalist at the World Junior Championships. Gosh, I was the national record holder of my country. I was the first guy to jump 220 and 230, basically in Peru. I still hold the South America area record for U23 because I jumped 230 at 22 years old. I had good international competitions. I stand up in the track with the best in the world. I mean, I had a lot of accomplishments that I can go ahead and look back and say, you know what? This was a good run, and now I push forward so with the same passion. I take my passion into something else to keep advancing in life, which that's what I do today. But at that point, I was like, I just want one more. So I cannot sit and think, you know what? I have way too many odds against me. That's it. Or I can go ahead and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a plan. And I'm going to worry about the things that I can control. And in the other ones, I'll just make the best of the worst. So I made a plan and I said, you know what? Look, I need to finish the university. So that's not a question. I need to be able to do something with my life when this is all finished. So I need money for a couple of competitions. So I'm going to get a job. So I got a job, I remember, as a security in a building, basically at a university, and also locally, to be able to pay for some competitions and some extra expenses that I need. At the same time, I said, well, that now I want to be able to create a little bit of money here. So remember, I was going to the university, I'm working, and I'm going to try to train for Olympic Games. Okay, alone in a foreign country up there. At the same time, I said, I don't have a track. A track that basically where I can train so my joints can be okay. So about 8 miles from University of Idaho, there was Washington State University, which I remember that Dan O'Brien, the decathlete, trained there, and then Rick Sloan was his coach. And he was the head coach at Washington State University. So I remember going and chatting with Rick and asking him, hey, you know what, Rick, I know that you even tried to recruit me. And I know that I said no to Washington State University, and I went to University of Idaho. But I have a favor to ask you. And I know that many people have come to you and asked you if they can train here, because their facilities were nice. And you said no, and you're on your right. But I want to ask you anyway, because I'm trying to make one more run here. Do you mind if I train here at Washington? And Rick, I remember basically went ahead and he grabbed his key and told me, just bring me my key when you're done, and the equipment is out there. And he gave me the key so I can take out the equipment. And I was like, Rick, are you serious? He says, Rick, I think that Rick was an Olympian back in the day in the decathlon for the United States. So Rick Sloan. So I was like, Rick, this is unbelievable. I mean, I was almost like in tears and said, Rick, this is really nice. Thank you. And Rick says, look, I offer you an opportunity here at University of Washington that it was probably more than you were gonna be offered previously from anyone. And you told me no. And I said, yes, and I know that. So I honestly was coming here expecting that you were going to tell me no, And he said, you told me no because you told me that you gave your word to University of Idaho. And I respect that a lot. So again, Hugo, the doors are always open here. Here are the keys and the strength. So then automatically, the facility part, I would say check. So I started checking boxes of my plan. At the same time, I had to organize my life a little bit. Same thing, I was having way too many things happening at that particular time, in also in my personal life. So it was very hard for me to train. And most important now is I needed a coach, and I didn't have a coach. And remember, I was badly injured in 1995 before the 1996 Olympic Games. So at that point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I need a coach, because there were aspects, there were things that I did previously, technically, that since a lot of them were not taught to me, some of them were taught to me, some of them were not taught to me. It's kind of like I didn't know how to replicate them because I was by myself. So I need eyes. I need eyes. What can I do to be able to create those eyes for me? So I went and bought one of those video cameras that I can connect to the computer, and I can basically go ahead and do video. Of course, you're looking at 2000, 1999. So the video was very pixelated. Okay, it's not like what it is today. But I went ahead and I emailed a bunch of friends from the international competition times, coaches from national teams, and said, guys, could you please, I'm trying to make one more run here, and I need eyes. Could you please analyze my videos and tell me, I want to videotape my workouts, and you guys basically can give me feedback. So I started basically sending that to friends in Europe, friends in Latin America that saw me when I was jumping healthy. And I started getting feedback from all over the world, from friends, whether it was other high jumpers, basically world-class high jumpers and world-class coaches, where they were telling me, hey, Hugo, you are doing this, you're basically not leaning on the curve, you are basically accelerating this step. So I created my eyes. Now, is it ideal? Of course it's not ideal. I needed a coach there. But you know what? I had a dream, so I created my opportunity. And I did the best with what I had. So, you know, I mean, so I was able to make it to a second Olympic Games, basically by trying to think on the best of the worst and pushing forward alone. Well, honestly, all the odds were probably against me, and at the same time, you know, now, would it, should it? Yeah, I cannot live my life with a would it, should it, could it, you know. So you push forward, you throw your chips out there, and whatever it is, and that's life, and we tackle it. That's it.
That's awesome.
Hugo, that's brilliant, and I'm running a series at the moment for in our area, Munster high jumpers, because we can't train, we're locked indoors, and it's on preparation. And the last 2 weeks I've been talking about desire and passion and fueling that and overcoming obstacles. And everything you said there, you made it happen. You got to the Olympics, that was your goal, and it was your desire that fueled it. And so I see that there's Martin O'Sullivan has a question there too. Did you see Martin's question?
Yes.
Unless Martin might you go in, and then Martin might want to.
I'll ask Martin's question in a second, but you took the words from my mouth there, Olivia, which was, I think the very first thing you said, which was this absolute passion and commitment. Like, you would have walked over hot coals to succeed. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that burning desire, there's currency in that. And, you know, I mean, a lot of these talks, I'm trying to get something that we can take away and okay, we can try and replicate that. I mean, Martin's question is about how you accelerated through the curve. And you can talk about that for a whole hour, right? However, it seems to me that there's this intangible, which is desire, which Olivia said. And you know, that comes from some mysterious part of your childhood or your upbringing back in Peru, which is this burning passion and commitment and dedication and perseverance, which I think was echoed also in Deirdre Ryan and the girls, the ladies talk, Olivia. It's been a common theme with a lot of great people we've listened to, is that absolute passion. And, you know, that's been the formula for getting over the obstacles. So you can throw any obstacle at these guys and they find a way around them. But I think one of the things I took from your explanation there, Hugo, was you need interpersonal skills. You need confidence to pick up the phone and say, analyze my jump, or to approach Rick Sloan and say, Rick, I know I've rejected you, but can you, I mean, you need balls of steel to do that. Sorry about the horrible expression, but you need so much confidence to approach a guy and say, help me. I mean, very few people, well, I don't think everyone.
I think we lost Anthony.
My internet connection is unstable. Right. Can you hear me now? Oh, interesting. My wife watching this, but can you hear me now?
Antone there.
I think he should be back.
I'm only missing. He's back, and he's on mute. You're on mute, Antone. I was doing the same myself.
I don't know what happened. We lost you, brother.
Yeah, that's the God saying they don't really want to hear from me. Anyway, in a word, incredible passion. You can't recreate that really, apart from maybe at grassroots level with children, inspiring them, introducing mentors, your hub, Olivia, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean,
you train it too, Anton. That's part of mental training. That's what we've been running the last 2 weeks.
Well,
how to fuel that burning desire. How to, because what we're doing is, if you tap into we're looking at the subconscious part of the mind, the belief systems that feeding that fuel. And it's funny, just as Anton was saying, there are a lot do it. That call with Gail Devers, hopefully you'll get a link to it soon. She was going to get her both feet chopped off 2 days. Like, she was 2 days away from getting both feet chopped off, and she said to herself, she had it up in a post-it, I'm going to the Olympics. And she was told both her feet were going to be chopped off, she just said, well, I'm still going to go to the Olympics, even if it's in a wheelchair, you know. So that didn't for 1 second dull her passion, her desire. And there's not, just to throw it out there to others, there's been scientific studies done in cellular biology level, where it's showing epigenetics, where it's showing it is that subconscious part of the mind, that desire, that belief, that passion that can change the just change the functioning of the cells. So it's not just something that should be ignored. That's all I want to say there, Antone, that it is something you can work on too.
That's great. Martin's question is your acceleration through the curve. How did you work on that? We heard some great info from Stefan Holm about his approach through the curve, and he just
I guess maybe if I just come in there, Anton, it's probably a combined thing, is that I see the enthusiasm from Hugo, and like that, even though my question is technical, but I believe your curve run reflects your mentality and your enthusiasm. You know, I like looking at your jumping, it was a strong, and then at the end you used to bang, you know, and I was kind of wondering, you know, it kind of stood out. It was all jumpers are unique, right? But you seem to be very power based, and I'm just kind of now speaking to you. Did you see it that way? And running that power based in, there must have been tremendous force on your takeoff legs and all that, but because of your mental state, you would have ran through walls and you probably didn't notice. And my second part of that, then, looking back now, would you have seen it contributing to your injuries, giving such power, and could you have changed it to more speed type jump? That's really where I'm. Thank you.
Martin, pleasure meeting you, and that's a great question. Thank you. Martin, his deal is, as a high jumper, this is the way I saw it at least. I run and I survive the takeoff.
Yeah.
That's the way I saw it. I mean, I honestly just survive that takeoff. And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't, my friend.
But you don't say that, because Stefan Holmes said he ran as hard as he possibly could. He was talking about his 240 jump. He said he hit it so hard. He said, run as fast as you can, see what happens. It was like running off a cliff, you know, just 110 miles an hour. But he had to work up to that. You know, running a bend is extremely difficult, as you know. But yeah, it's practice, isn't it?
Yeah. And let's say when you used to kind of take off kind of slow, you know, and then you used to go bang, and like what talking to coaching high jumpers is trying to coach them to actually run slow at the start and to accelerate. And that's where I have a lot of difficulty trying to get athletes to I suppose, transfer a slow run to accelerate into the jump. You know, you get this constant compared to you had it down to a T, if you want to call it, whether it was purely natural or was it something that you could work on or need to work on. And now that you see other athletes, can you model that in some way?
That's a great question, Martin. Here's the deal for me. The way I see it, at least, is yes, you're gonna be able to hit that takeoff as hard and as fast as you can, as you know that you're gonna be able to transfer what that you're looking at: input, output. Okay, we are all trying to create that vertical velocity. At the end of the day, that vertical velocity is what is going to get us up there. Vertical velocity and of course, you know, vertical velocity, mass, you know, I mean, which is, I know it's a hard topic to talk about as high jumpers, but you know what? We are fighting gravity. So, you know, vertical velocity, your body mass. So at the moment of takeoff, how much is your ankle going to be able to take? It's going to basically, it's going to be dependent on the amount of speed that you're bringing, your force, and also the angle, sure, and also the body mass that you have. I mean, it's
Do you have difficulty talking about body weight, Hugo?
Yes, absolutely. I'm talking about body weight. Yep, yeah.
Okay.
Because if for any reason you are you are in any of the variables, you know, of the numbers, you exceed your what your ligament or your joint can take, then you get hurt.
How do you manage that conversation, particularly with women who might, you know, have insecurities, or even men who might have, you know, potential sensitivities around eating disorders? You know the way they say jockeys are similar, you know, they have a calorie controlled diet, etc. How would you manage that conversation if you had to have it?
That's a great question. If the athlete that comes to me is an athlete that is trying to make it into international competition, then, you know, we need to do, you're trying to compete at an international level or at a high level. We have to be able to make sure that we talk to a professional, you know, and have a professional help them with a nutrition aspect. For example, Daniela is working with, her name is Patty Martinez, is the nutritionist for the Peruvian Track and Field Federation. The girl is brilliant, okay? And you basically, she coaches Daniela as far as her nutrition is concerned, mainly for performance, for the sport, for the high jump, which includes basically, I mean, high level competition is not healthy. It's unlike what we are trying to we talk about sports and health. Yeah, sports and health, that's the wellness industry. You know, if you're in the wellness industry, yeah, we want to do yoga and we want to breathe and we want to make sure that we do movement and it's going to be great. But when we are talking about, it's just like you said before, we are going to push the numbers until basically our body tells us that's it. So that's the sports, high level is sports is not the health, the wellness industry.
Yeah, so look, yeah, I agree. And look, yeah, there's only 13 people in here, but I'll say my view would be different than other people's view. My view is that at the highest level, if you want to attack a 2-meter high jump for females or a 230 plus high jump for men, you have to be extremely vigilant and serious about a diet that only covers the absolute necessary amount of nutrients to allow you to jump, basically, and to train to prepare for that jump. Meaning, I would personally endorse a calorie controlled diet, meaning you have to be as light as possible because you'll get injured or you just won't be able to defy gravity if you're in any way overweight. Obviously, you consult a nutritionist. Obviously, I shouldn't have to say obviously, but I think I need to. If there's underlying mental health issues, you need to see a psychologist. And personally, I don't think you should be involved. If there's a risk of bulimia or anorexia, you need to take a break from the sport and sort that out first. But I don't think there's any question, personally, and I'd be open to debate, that you need to have a restricted diet to be a high jumper, an elite high jumper. That's my view. Shoot me if you disagree.
No. At the end of the day, we go back to the numbers don't lie. It's just like have you ever heard Shakira? That's a sing.
Yeah.
The hips don't lie. Well, for us, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we asked that question to Stefan Holm and he came up with a story. His story was, I ate a big bag of jellies before my biggest ever jump. And I'm like, well, Stefan, you're not really telling the truth there, because the truth is that you ate practically nothing for the previous 5 to 10 years. I mean,
he didn't say that though. He didn't say that because but he did. What he did say, we can replay the clip. He said he was one of the high jumpers that didn't look at diet. He basically just everything in moderation.
Let's debate this within 60 seconds, okay? And I promise I'll drop it after 60 seconds, right? I would wager $100,000 if I had the money that as much as he didn't look at it with a microscope, in my opinion. Stefan Holm, if you look at pictures of him when he jumped 240, he was like an Auschwitz convict, right? He had a body fat of about 2 to 3%. He weighed no more than 69 kilos or something, 70 kilos. He would have eaten probably 1,000 calories a day. I would bet $100,000 that even though he didn't think about it much, he was either very, very fortunate that he didn't have a big appetite, or he just managed on, a bowl of porridge, a chicken fillet, and a nice big healthy salad in the evening, and that was it. There was no potatoes, big plates of rice or pasta. I would bet $100,000 he had practically nothing.
Well, we'll have to get him on.
There's no question about that, Anthony. There's no question that he lived in a very, very controlled and managed environment. He lived at home until he was in his mid-20s. Coached by his father, probably fed by his mother. He was at home, wholesome, healthy food, a balanced diet, and he was training his socks off every day, every opportunity. So the overall environment led to a very, very light, healthy, strong as an ox athlete. I mean, and flexible, so dynamic and flexible. So, and that happened over a 10, 15 year period of being focused around this,
The stability of his parents are great.
Diet management, I'd say for 15 years, but it was in the home environment as well,
That would make his mother a bit of a genius, if you ask me.
Well, healthy eating,
I'm not convinced healthy eating is. Yeah, anyway, Hugo, go on.
Hugo, you have to say something.
Well, here's the deal, okay? When we're talking about helping your kid, just like what Cormac said, it becomes a lot easier because you are in a controlled environment, which honestly, I have been blessed that Daniela, when we started talking about this, since she's competing internationally right now, and Daniela just qualified for the South American Championships U20, and I think that the minimum standards for the Pan American Championships U20 haven't come out yet, but I think that she already made it. She basically is working closely with the sports nutritionist from the Peruvian Track and Field Federation, but again, she's at home, so it is a controlled environment, and even I am helping in a way that I try to sit down and eat with her what she's eating. So it's not very hard for her to be able to eat healthy, since there is not basically somebody sitting beside her with a burger and fries with sauce, basically. And she's eating, I mean, she eats a steak, she eats fish, she eats, but she eats because we are at home. we know how we are cooking everything, so it is healthy, and it basically it follows a pattern that is basically done by the sports nutritionist from the Peruvian Federation. Now, I will say this: Daniela has the mental maturity to be able to understand what she's doing, which unfortunately, when you're talking with female athletes, we cannot control that. And much more, I think that I cannot be responsible for what could happen to a girl that has the passion like that we all share about jumping high, and probably not having the support system at home, and she's alone. And this thing she goes wrong on her nutrition and she gets hurt because, basically the information or the level of her passion overcomes basically the senses that she needs to understand that this has to be done in a controlled way, or she's going to end up basically getting hurt with this. In every situation is very different. And at the same, we go back to mental maturity and what this kid is going to do, which this is high jump. I mean, again, so everybody, for example, if there is a kid that is coming here and telling me, coach, I just want to be the best in my high school, sitting and talking about these kinds of things, to me will be unnecessary, because this is a child that probably, as she does high jump, she plays basketball in the winter, and she plays other sports later on. So how relevant it might be for this particular kid, and she might quit high jump in a year or two, and she's going to move on with her life. But creating an anorexia or bulimia basically for a kid like that will be extremely irresponsible. Now, if the athlete comes to me and tells me, hey, coach, I'm going to try to make it to the Olympic trials. I'm going to try to compete internationally. I'm trying to win, I don't know, because I'm trying to go ahead and be an All-American in the high jump in the United States in the collegiate system. Then, and if the athlete is a mature athlete, what I do is I go ahead and refer them to a professional and have a female professional basically help them with a nutrition aspect, which I think that at the end of the day, they are going to be much more qualified than me, and me also as a man. Now, I can have this direct conversation with somebody that have the mental maturity there, and of course, my own daughter, that I know the way she thinks, and I know basically what she's eating every single day. And I already told Daniela, if I see you under any circumstance that you are being unprofessional, I'm chopping this off, period. We go back to being professional.
Okay, you use the term mental maturity, and I think that's a euphemism for being smart about what you eat and your lifestyle, etc. And that's great. I think the solution really is having a qualified nutritionist who understands the event. I mean, very, very few nutritionists would understand high jump, never mind athletics. But I don't believe a generalist can help you. I believe they need a very, very particular understanding of high jump and power to weight ratio, and the understanding, I mean, obviously a shot putter, discus thrower, and a high jumper, chalk and cheese. But I mean, there's no doubt about it. There are some male athletes and female athletes who are either underweight or overweight. And more often than not, I would argue that they'd probably, in high jump, they'd probably be overweight. Certainly if they had a traditional Irish diet, which is heavy on carbohydrates, big plate of spuds, etc., you could call it healthy, but is it healthy to be jumping, championship standards? I'd say absolutely not. But then how do you define healthy? The nutritionist should be doing it, not your mother. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Stefan Holm's mother was very, very, very clued in or smart about elite high jump nutrition. I'm pretty sure of it. I guess, if I could guess, I'd guess that.
No, Anthony, there's no denying the fact that there's experts all over high performance sport in Sweden, and Stefan and his coach would be getting the top nutritional advice, but you have to implement the advice, and that's implemented on where you're living. And if your mom is actually looking after diet, she's obviously getting the top advice from nutritionists, and there's no question about that. That there would be the level of professionalism in some of these countries is just unbelievable, I'd say.
But you could imagine a scenario, Cormac, where the mother and dad know absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah.
But the athlete is fully, and then they have to face 3 meals or 4 meals a day, which potentially could be unhealthy. There's a lot of families where the diet is just not good enough. It's quite
That's
normal.
true. No denying that. I'd like to just, if there is time, guys, I'm not sure, but I really found the portion of the discussion around desire really interesting. And maybe I missed something at the very start, but I'd just like to ask Hugo, where did his desire, was that something that you were born with and that you discovered at a very young age, and that you almost then had this desire to want to basically jump higher and actually, compete internationally? And the reason I ask this is that I'm worried about the actual desire in Ireland for a lot of field sport athletes and jumpers, and whether even coaches are actually dreaming big and dreaming ambitious and really projecting that onto their athletes, So I just wonder about that. Where did you actually discover that passion?
That's an interesting question. I think we all are. To me, somebody that says that that is somebody that is a complete mess. I don't believe that. I believe everybody has something. We are all made different. So everybody is talented beyond belief and special in their own way. You might be a great mathematician. I might be good at linguistics. Martin might have an unbelievable eye. It has an unbelievable visual for picking up things in a high speed, and those are gifts. Okay, that's the positive is that we are all made different. So the key is I somehow found passion into something that ended up working out for me at that particular time. And I found that there was an opportunity for me to succeed through my passion. And I ended up working very hard at it. And then it translated into other things in life, which I think is huge. It's basically unfortunately, we are not like, there are certain sports where you can be in your 5th, 6th Olympic Games and you don't have to look like an athlete. Like, for example, shooting. Okay, so you have guys that basically have been shooting since they were 18 years old. Their first Olympic Games probably were when they were high teens, and they are in their 4th, 5th Olympic Games, and they are almost 60 years old. And that's shooting. Okay, so in my case, it's that desire in trying to find better ways to do something and to push forward and all that, it comes back to pretty much sometimes hardship. If you are someone that is way too comfortable, and it's kind of like you have a son, and unfortunately, if you have a son and you give out of love, you give your son every single thing as much as, you know what I mean? It is exactly the same example.
There's an expression, adversity breeds virtue.
Yes.
Privilege breeds vice. If you have everything, you don't have the desire. But you clearly had that, Hugo. Hugo, I'm very conscious of your time. I know this has gone on really long. You've been amazing, really generous, really interesting, and it's been wonderful to listen to you. It could go on all night here, but thank you so much. Let's connect again some other time. If there's any final questions anyone has, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'd just like to say now, Daniel or Hugo, I just joined the dots because I often watch Kangaroo Track Club, and I've seen Danielle jump. So it's interesting. Maybe they're old clips now, but just to let you know that her style of jump is kind of copied over here in Ireland on my daughter, because she has the double hand shift. And so just like to say that. Okay, so your clips have been valuable. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me happy, Martin. That's awesome. Good luck with your daughter. It's going to be a beautiful journey. Enjoy your time, man.
Thank
Hugo,
you. Thank you.
Hugo, let's keep in touch, yeah? And let's not leave it another 30 years.
Anytime, brother. Okay.
I'll
Thank you so much, Hugo.
I'll give you a call
Thank
again
you,
some
guys.
other
I
time.
appreciate you. I appreciate all of you.
Mhm. I'm going to stay on with maybe a couple of Irish people who might want to digest what you said, because there was a lot of food for thought.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
No worries. I'm here, or I can go. It's fine too. No worries.
Okay.
Take care.
Well, I'm gonna. Well, while you're here, I'll just be very transparent. Tomorrow morning, I'm playing football. A really important game, over 45s, with my local team. I'm so excited. For me, this is a championship, right? It's like World Juniors 1992. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Seoul, Korea. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
I stood up in those stands watching Steve Smith attempt 240. Were you there for that?
Yes,
Wow.
of course. Wow.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wasn't that mind-blowing? 237 at 19 years of age. Oh my God. Did you watch? Because we were all thrown out of the stadium,
Right.
but you hung around and watched, yeah?
Of course, it was Steve Smith going at it with Team Forsyth, and I think that it was third was a guy from Korea.
Yeah, that's right. It was what an incredible event, and the
Unbelievable.
Koreans, the Asians, Koreans, Japanese, those guys, they always organize so well, and Germans, they put on a great show. At Tokyo, it's such a shame they can't have spectators, because it will be such an incredible spectacle. The Olympics.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, I agree.
But I was going to say that I'm very passionate about the weight thing, simply because I feel that a lot of people are very paranoid about body weight, and they can't talk about it. It's like, because everyone's politically correct, but I feel it's a very hard conversation that sometimes, not all the time, sometimes needs to be had. Because as much as some people can be disciplined about training hard, resting well, seeing the physio, raising money, blah, 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 they can't stop eating, or they've got a sweet tooth. I think I was about 5 to 7 kilos overweight. I jumped at around high 80s, 88, maybe 89 kilos. Should have been probably 79 kilos or less. What was your jumping weight? Do you remember?
God, I think that I was around 70 kilos. And
70.
Yeah.
I mean, and what height are you?
I was 188. I don't think I'm 188 anymore.
So you're 188, so that's about 6 feet, 162. 62. So I mean,
like I said, I think that I was 188. Like I said, time passes.
So you did a lot of dancing around that topic. You danced, right?
I did.
You danced, right? I can tell you danced, because it's a very sensitive topic. But the truth is that the highest of the high performance can often be unhealthy. It can be dangerous and unhealthy. And my daughter's high jumping as well. She's 8, almost 9. And we did one season. She competed in the state championships a couple of weeks ago. Won't do it again for a couple of years. We're going to take a break for probably 2 or 3 years. Come back when she's 11 or 12. She was a bit immature for it. Was a bit upset. She finished 10th. She's the same height as the bronze medal. She was very upset about it. So I thought, oh, let's not do it. Too young to compete. But the point is that, that conversation with your daughter would be very difficult. Now, obviously, your wife is doing well. You're doing well. You feed her well. But if it wasn't Hugo Munoz who was her father, and she grew up, let's imagine she loved Heike Henkel or somebody, or Kostantinova, whatever her name is, and she said, I want to be a great high jumper, but her mom and dad were some kind of trailer trash hillbillies who ate fast food every day. That stuff happens. This is what I'm talking about. If your parents are simple, uneducated people, no disrespect to them, and they're eating fucking McDonald's every day, and you're thinking, no, this is wrong, what do I eat? Then the national organization should be able to intervene and say, look, here's a body of information, here's an expert, here's a nutritionist, a doctor, or whatever. Here's Hugo Munoz, who knows the specific event diet, and say, you cannot do this. But I think people are afraid to do that.
Yes, you're right. And the reason why they are afraid is because we go back to why are people doing this? You know, I mean, you could be having a kid that not only high jumps, but on the side, this is a high school girl that could be also trying to do these beauty pageants at 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know, in how do I control where the mind of this particular kid is and where are they getting their information and how professional are they
Yeah.
in a way that they don't think that this is not like a wrestler that is just going to go ahead and pretty much cut water weight the day before of the competition and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You cannot do that. You know, this has to be you have to have consistency and you have to have the right team behind you in order
Now
for
you're
you to
talking.
do.
Because funny you mentioned team, because I listened to a part of that Louis Castro interview you did, the coffee. That was really good
Yeah,
one. Right?
yeah.
And he
Yes.
goes, no, there's no team. It's just me. And I'm like, no, no. I felt like, and you agreed with him again because you were dancing, right? I said, I'm putting you under pressure, but yeah, you're a nice guy, right? But there is a team. You know that there's a team.
Of
You
course,
make
there is a team. There is a team. There is a team. So even if it's your coach and you, that's a team. If you have a girlfriend that is at home, basically helping you eating the same turtle food diet that basically you are eating, you know, basically that's a team right there. You're so,
everyone around you is part of your team. I mean, they have to be. It's your environment.
Absolutely. For example, Daniela Daniela and I are a team, but at the same time, is my wife. As a family, we are a team. So
Yeah.
basically, then you have the sports nutritionist, you have the sports psychologist. Uh, we are all a team.
I felt sorry for that Castro guy. You know, he's a very talented guy, but I didn't watch it all. I only watched about 20 minutes, and I felt sorry when he made that comment. He was talking about his sponsorship. He sounded alone to me. Like he took a lot on his own shoulders.
Lu- Luis is an unbelievable guy, extremely talented. Okay, in what Luis experiences, and honestly, that desire that Luis has, because Luis is talented. Luis is a complete package. And just like Luis, a lot of the guys that basically have been that are right now in the tour that you and I have been in their shoes. Okay, and it all depends on basically and look, Luis, at least he's training in Germany. I mean,
right. So there you
he
are.
re-
So I didn't hear that part. But who is he training with? That guy? What's his name?
Wolfgang.
Oh,
He
that's the
trained.
same guy, Olivia, that the guys were talking about. Adrian Dwyer, Deirdre Ryan trained with him. Wolfgang, what's his second name? Family name? What's the full name of the guy he's training with? Oh, you don't know his name, his full name. Can you hear me?
I don't think that guy's name was Wolfgang,
Because
Anton.
I remember the name Wolfgang from a long time ago. And there's a lot of Wolfgangs in Germany, I guess. But yeah, the point is a team. So Hugo, I see someone like you and I think, okay, there's a guy who, for whatever reason, he's contributing so much to the sport. And I see it like a jigsaw puzzle. So you got your athlete in the middle, then you got the federation, the coach, the nutritionist, the masseuse, the physio, the doctor. You got someone who helps him get into competition, all that kind of stuff. So without all these people, even the girlfriend, the boyfriend, whatever, without all these people playing a very important role, and it's very difficult. And you talked about your time in Idaho. My God, you were on your own. That's I mean, maybe you could have been a 240 jumper, if you had that team. That's what my point is.
It's funny you mentioned that. As time passes, I think that I haven't encountered a single high jumper that didn't thought that they could have jumped higher before. I mean, we all did. I mean, I could have done this and I could have done that.
Guilty.
Yeah, we all do it. So I think that we are all guilty of that. We are all like, you know what? I remember in Stuttgart, I was sitting one time with Javier Sotomayor. It was Gustavo Adolfo Becker from Spain.
Yeah.
In Emilio Valle in the hurdles, and then Ivan Pedroso the long jumper.
Wow.
And we were all sitting basically in a table in the village talking. And somehow we were kind of like, somehow we found ourselves talking about fouls. And,
Oh, yeah.
and for example, the day that I jumped 230, I attempted 234. And I remember basically I took the jump and I cleared it. I got up on the pit and the thing came down.
Oh my God. Wow.
I was like, oh my God, you know? Well, in Soto basically talk about 246 attempts, basically, that the thing basically just came down. Everybody talked about fouls. And we all realized that talking about fouls for us is talking about that big fish that got away when you are fishing, okay? And somehow, as time passes, the fish, it probably was like this early on, but the fish gets like that, like that. So as the years pass, the fish, man, it was huge. It wasn't huge. It was a foul. Okay, so
A whale. Yeah,
it was a whale, but you know, but hey, the foul is always beautiful. The foul is always beautiful. It was big. It was gorgeous. It was a nice jump, but it was a foul.
Yeah, that's true. True. Pedrosa, wow, what a legend. But look, let's keep in touch. What I'd love to do is maybe once every couple of months to check in, you know, or even if it's every 3 months, maybe even if it's just for 1 year, and say, look, in a couple of months' time, 2021, we spoke at the beginning of 2021. How did you do 3 months later? Something like that, you know. I mean, even if it's just you and I or whatever, or email, I'd love to follow your progress, you know.
Thank you, brother. Anytime. I enjoy to be.
Do you know what? I'll come off here now because I know the two of you need to speak.
No.
And I ran away for 2 minutes because my food, you were talking about food and diet, and Stefan had the dinner ready, and I was like, okay, I better go down. I've been on Zoom all morning, Hugo, doing high jump all morning on Zoom. So now I'm like,
I'm worried that we'll never see. I'm worried we'll never see him again because we exploit these guys. We exploited Stefan. So they all stayed 2 hours, and I wanted to go to bed early tonight, and it's now after midnight, and my big football game is in jeopardy. But let's keep in touch. Is my message. If you're not
I log off and you can talk. And muchas gracias, Hugo.
Las gracias, Olivia. Take care of yourself.
And we'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
But that's all I had to say was in a few months' time or whenever, I'd love to get in touch again, and in a downtime when you're just, you know, smoking a cigar and having a beer or something, then just say, oh yeah, let's talk about
Let's chat. Of course. By the way, when we were talking about a team, Daniela also works with a sports psychologist that I think that her name is Lenny Wadey. I think that she competed for Great Britain, but it's let me see, Lenny Wadey. I just want to make Lenny is part of the team also, and she has been waiting with Daniela.
This is what we want to do, Hugo. I want to encourage people, not me directly because I live in Australia. I want to encourage people to build a team, build an infrastructure. When you got the infrastructure, then you got a much higher chance of it's like preparing soil, and then you put the seed in, and your flower will bloom. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. No, I think it's awesome. If I'm not mistaken, I don't want to, but I think that Lenny was. I don't know if Lenny was Irish, but I think she competed for Great Britain.
Lenny, I don't know any Lennys.
Lenny Wadey. I think that she competed. She's much younger than you and I, you know. But I don't want to.
Young.
Yeah, and since we're young, of course, you know, since we're young, I'm sure we're right there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make an assumption like that. But I know that she competed for Great Britain, but I don't know if she was born in Ireland or not. But I might go ahead and ask Daniela, because she works. To me, it's very important. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, ask. And there are certain aspects that definitely there are people that are smarter than me. So if I go ahead and find myself in a moment where I'm going to go ahead and I prefer not to take a chance with an athlete, much less with my daughter. So I don't have a problem to picking up the phone and ask for these two professionals have been awesome. Like, for example, that Lenny worked with Daniela in the mental aspect. She's awesome. And then she's a sports psychologist. And then Patty worked with Daniela on the nutrition aspect. Both great professionals, and we go back to the team. Basically we are all a team.
You know what I've noticed, Hugo, is that often, and it's just my observation, often very successful people don't understand how they are very successful. They don't know. That's my observation, because when you ask a question, you say, how did you become successful? Either they can't articulate it, or they don't actually know. And my suspicion as to why that happens, not always, but often in my experience, is because they don't realize the bigger picture of, just like, for example, with you say, oh yeah, I ask questions, but I don't think you fully understand that confidence you have to pick up the phone and ask a question, or that resourcefulness you have to find a good nutritionist, good psychologist, build a stadium or that facility behind you. You probably have good self-esteem, self-confidence, but it's extremely rare to have that resourcefulness, ingenuity, creativity, confidence, interpersonal skills, communication skills, all together. Now, you don't know that's special because you are you. Like you're not somebody else. Do you understand?
I understand. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to do is just encourage people to pick the ingredients that might help and distill them into a package, and then say to the federation, guys, we need a great nutritionist. The kind of nutritionist that Hugo would be smart enough to navigate through all the shit nutritionists to find a good one. That kind of skill, right? And that's a skill. Like, you did your research, your due diligence to find probably the best available nutritionist for your daughter because you love your daughter, right?
Right.
Now, not every administrator loves their athletes, but they're going to say, well, find me a nutritionist. They're going to pull one straight out of the bloody telephone book. No. The first time I saw a nutritionist, she said double my calorie intake. And I knew I was overweight. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I need to be skinny. I need to be light, okay? So, you need the nutritionist, psychologist, and all those other people, right? And that takes a very special quality. I could use adjectives all night. But what I'm saying is, what I think I see my role as is I'm articulate. I think I'm articulate. And being articulate, you can say, okay, Hugo, you've told me your story, and I'm going to give it back to you in 90 seconds and say, this is what you said to us over 2 hours. You need A, B, C, D, E. Bang, done. Let's put that in a box, give it to the federation and say, we need $10,000 for this. We need $5,000 for that. And this is volunteers can do this. Some creative, passionate helpers can do this, and then put them all together and then add the athlete. That's what I would like to do.
Right.
So, I believe there's a formula. I believe in a formula. And it may not work for everybody, but it's fundamental. It's a fundamental principle. You need a facility. It's behind you, right? They don't have one in Ireland. It's freezing. You mentioned heating. They don't have the heating because they just build a barn and it's freezing, right? You need all these things. We could talk about it all night, but it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. You need a gym that you can get into. They can't get into a bloody gym. So a great question tonight that wasn't asked is, how do you build your strength without a fucking gym? They don't have a gym. Can I fill a barrel full of water and build some contraption to put it on my back, or, improvise with a leg press or something? That kind of stuff. That's what they need to do right now. But I don't think there's anyone in the federation giving them answers,
Yeah, it's an interesting talking about federation and then the politics of the sport,
Yeah.
that's a whole different topic that at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I took a different route. I understood the nature of the animal, if you know what I mean. Okay?
Quickly.
And then you're right. And I had to understand it quickly, because if I stay basically on waiting for someone to help me, well, then I am going to basically fall into the cracks, and I'm going to become another statistic. So I had to go ahead and maneuver quickly into becoming self-sufficient in order to survive.
And there's the genius of Hugo Munoz. I'm not trying to massage your ego, but the reason Hugo Munoz competed at 2 Olympics and became world top 20 or whatever was because you thought outside the box. I mean, you obviously committed, but I'm diagnosing your success here. I'm trying my best, which is your commitment, your dedication, pushed your interpersonal skills and your what's the right word? Your mental abilities, I would say your mental abilities, because it's a mental skill to do that. I mean, you need emotional intelligence to understand that this animal in front of you, call it the Federation, they're not fit for purpose. You know, they don't have the money, they don't have the skills, they don't have the, so I need to work outside. That takes intelligence. It's intelligence. That's the word I was looking for. You need to be intelligent.
It goes back to time. The most valuable, to me, currency in the world is time.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's the best, is what you have. So I can use my time getting upset and arguing all day.
Exactly.
Or I can use my time.
Many people do.
Right.
They just say, oh, what can you do for me? And they just hang in there. What can you do for me? And then they complain about it. They don't make that next step, the step you made. They don't do that.
Life is too short. So I can only have time for one thing. Is one, to advance and succeed, or to argue. I chose the path of to advance and succeed instead of wasting my time arguing, because I understand what they can and they cannot do, or what is going to take too much time and bureaucracy to be able to get, which to me is like, is it worth? It's basically is the juice worth the squeeze?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you know what? I basically I need to save my energy for. At the moment, there is a moment where I'm going to have to go ahead and if there is a moment that I need to, okay, you know what? I need to go ahead and say, okay, wait a minute, guys. And we need to go head to head. That's okay. But I cannot do that all the time, because at the end of the day, I will be going head to head all the time. You basically end up falling into the same path, which you become another statistic. So I have time to go ahead. I only have time to push forward and to succeed and to think outside the box.
Outside the system.
I only have energy and time for that, you know. And
well,
we push forward.
There's genius in that. When you figured that out, when the penny dropped, and you looked at some mature, nice people, and you thought, you know what? You don't have the answers that I'm looking for, and you can look them in the eye and say, I love you guys, but I got to get out of here. I mean, I had a coach, very quick story. My coach in Liverpool, Mike Combs, he was Steve Smith's coach. You remember Steve Smith?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Shared the same coach. One hat doesn't fit all heads. He worked for me for junior. I was runner-up in the World Juniors in 1994. And after that, I just plateaued, and I didn't improve again. I jumped 224, 223 a couple of times outdoors, and I just didn't improve. I could not bridge the gap between early 220s and 230. I just could not do it. But and I don't feel angry or bitter about this. I'm passionate, but I don't feel any negative, a real negative. I feel an obligation to learn and to share my learnings.
And you shouldn't feel, because you know what? You did great things. You are a guy. How many guys can say that they jumped 224? You did.
Well,
you were the top guy.
224 is a very painful height to jump. Let me tell you that. You know why? Because you're this much short of a championship, right? So I would not wish that on my worst enemy, to jump 224. Jump 194 or jump 230, but anything in between, and you're working really hard for very little reward. So I'm not trying to dismiss what you're saying, but 224 is a terrible height to jump because you're so close. I mean, you're that close to an Olympic final. I mean, it's so, you're agonizingly close.
I disagree. I have a lot of respect for you, but that's the beauty of agreeing and disagreeing, and this is beautiful.
We're going to disagree. We'll disagree on that one. I don't think it's worth it because you're better off being 100% or nothing or maybe 50%, but not 90% of what you need. I mean, if 100% is your qualifier for the Olympics, you do not want to stop at 90%. You stop at 50% because you save yourself a lot of time and money, etc. But do not do, if you're going to go for that standard, fucking do it 110%. I mean, just drop everything 110%. Do not do it by half. You're going to do it by half, find a girlfriend, find a job, find a life, whatever. That's my advice to people, have a good time, because it's dangerous, I keep saying this, it's dangerous. And you were mental. I mean, what you did was, your parents probably said, Hugo, what are you doing? You're crazy. Did your people say that?
All the time, man. All the time.
Because you're fucking crazy, right?
What are you doing, man?
And there were moments, right? And you go away when you need to. But I know your life. This is what happened when you were in Idaho, right? Just before you spoke with Mr. Sloan, right? You were like, okay, I am fucked, right? You knew it. Right? I'm totally fucked. I'm not going to call these people. I'm not going to call my mom. I'm not going to call my dad. I'm not going to call my friend fucking Jim, who's got a job in an investment bank.
They're going to talk me out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to avoid all these people and I'm going to talk to my future self. Yeah. And my future self tells me, this is your fucking destiny. And my future self tells me, I'm going to be in Sydney, right? I tell Olympic.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And Hugo, your future Hugo said, you're going to do it. And I love that shit. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think that was the genius of tonight. What you said was, you were in a dark place, man. Your ankles were fucked. You had no reason to try for Sydney. You had no reason. I love it. I love that story. I really do. So I'm almost emotional about it because
thank you.
Sydney was it was a very difficult experience for me. I'm going to stop recording this now.